Just to let you know a little bit about myself, I started acting, doing voiceover in like 2003, and I ended up going, oh shoot, I actually need to get good at this, and I started taking classes. And within 8 months of those classes, because I kicked my butt really hard and I was in class every single week doing scenes, I ended up signing with an LA talent agent, and my first role that I got was actually a recurring role on ER. So that kind of started my journey. It was ridiculous, and I was very lucky to do it. But from there, my teacher at the time saw that I was really good at explaining how to break down scripts to the newer actors in class, so she asked me if I would start teaching for her, and I did. And that's how I started teaching. You know, a couple of years went by, I started teaching on my own, and because I look really young, I can't teach adults because adults don't think that I know what I'm talking about. So I started a specialty business teaching kids and teens acting. And my kids and teens are doing really amazing. William Lipton is a Emmy nominee. I have 2 series regulars, one on the, actually 3 series regulars, one I can't talk about, and then the other 2 are on the Dreamworks Life Hacks for Kids series. And a lot of my kids, they do a lot of stuff. You know, they book commercials all the time. They book series that maybe aren't so well known as like the Dreamworks one, but they're doing amazing. And I think the reason why they do that is because I teach in a very simple way. And that's kind of what I'm going to be sharing with you guys. So the script that I kind of put out for you, it's called A Kid and a Hitman. And it is a script that is from mock sites, and there's so many sites on the internet for you guys that are out there that don't have the money to go into acting classes. Just practice them on your own. Break down the scripts all the time, because when you go and audition, you don't know what you're going to be auditioning for. So it's just a good habit to just grab whatever you can, break it down, put yourself into that character's shoes, and what memories you need to make it yours. So anyways, this is from mock sites. It's called A Kid and a Hitman, and it totally says that I have permission to use this script. So there, I'm using it. Just the first thing that I tell my students to do is to just read it, okay? Just read it. Don't make any judgments. Don't do the thing where actors like hear the way that they should say it in their heads. Don't do any of that. Just read it like an outside observer, because when you start making judgments on things at the get-go, because you know we're actors and we want to like emote and put ourselves into the script, sometimes you can miss the clues that are in there for you because you're already in your head thinking about the way that it should go. And one of the best things about scenes and about like actually acting is it's supposed to be recreating real life. So if you already have it planned out the way that you're gonna do it, it kind of takes out the magic and the reality and the nuanced moments in it that you can have if you just, you know, make your memories and then make a free fall. Okay, so first thing is just read the script and just see what's going on in the script. So for those that are, you know, have the script, what is the script about? Just tell me, you know, just type it out real quick. Just do a really quick assessment of like, what is this script about? I'll give you like a minute. What is the script about? Just, can you guys type it? Are you guys typing? It's about 2 people. Somebody type something. And they're in a theater. And they're negotiating beating somebody up, kind of, right? Just like this, the bare bones of things. Like a kid is meeting a stranger in a theater, but she has something to offer him, right? The Red Dawn monologue. I don't know what that means, Mike. Red Dawn monologue. I don't know what that means. But anyways, okay, so A kid and an older person are meeting in a theater. They don't know each other very well, and Marissa is asking Mr. Turner to do something for her. That's just bare bones of the script, okay? Second thing that I ask my students to do is, once you know kind of like the generalities of what's happening in the script, know who the people that you are talking to. So if you are reading for Marissa, you're talking to one person. You're talking to Mr. Turner. And Mr. Turner, the clues from the script say that Mr. Turner is a friend of your grandparents. If you are reading for Mr. Turner, then you're talking to Marissa, and she's just a kid that you kind of sort of know, right? So make all the people personal to you. So even though, Marissa is talking to somebody that she kind of knows is like her grandfather's friend, I would ask my student is if there is somebody in their lives that they kind of know as a friend, but they can kind of talk to or ask things of. Maybe it's like a teacher, maybe it's a friend of the family that you know of. So make it really personal. Make the relationships personal to you. If you are reading for Mr. Turner, I would make Marissa this kid that I kind of know but is annoying AF, because and make it a personal kid. Make it somebody in your life, because if you have like a generic person up here, like say, you're talking to a stranger, or like, I'm talking to the concept of a Mr. Turner. That's not gonna be, it's not gonna like feed you as much as somebody in your real life that you're like, oh, like, I can ask this guy something, and I know that my grandfather pays him, so he's kind of like, he kind of owes our family one. So if I have somebody, or if my student has somebody in their family that is like, oh, I can ask them for something because they owe me, that's who I'm going to make Mr. Turner. And, on the other hand, if you're Mr. Turner, or if you're playing Mr. Turner, like some annoying kid that is super entitled, somebody in your life that you already have that judgment on, make those relationships personal. That is somewhat where the magic happens in scenes. Like just from making the relationships personal alone, like you see a switch when they do their scenes. Okay. So third thing that I ask my students to do is know what your objective is. And objective is like this big actor term, right? It's like what do you want from the other person? And that's very simple. It's like, what do you want from the other person? If you are Marissa, if you're playing Marissa, then you want Mr. Turner to beat up this kid for you. That's what you want at the end of the scene. If you're Mr. Turner, then you're like, you want this kid to, one, tell you what's going on and not waste your time. Like that is what you want from, so they're like opposing objectives on that. And also it says, what city do you teach in, Michael James? I teach online. I teach everywhere. I used to teach in the Bay Area, but through Skype and FaceTime and Zoom technology, I'm teaching nationwide now. So yeah, I teach anywhere. Anyways, where was I? Okay, so objectives. Know it is what you want from the other person, because you're going to constantly try to get that from them. In whatever way that shows up, you're going to always, actively try to get what you want from the other person. And also, I always ask my students to think about, okay, what is the worst case scenario that happens if you don't get what you want? And what is the best case scenario that happens if you do get what you want? So like in Marissa's case, the best case scenario is that Mr. Turner is going to beat the crap out of this bully, and he's gonna take really horrible pictures, and I would, make what I wanted those pictures to be very specific in my head, and that kid's never gonna bother my friends or my brother or my family again. That is best case scenario if I don't get what I want. Worst case scenario is Marissa, if I don't get what I want, is that this kid is gonna continue to torment me, and not only that, is that he's probably gonna take it out on my friends and family. In the other, what have I acted in? A lot of things. You can look in my IMDb. But let me talk about the objectives from Mr. Turner's side. So best case scenario, if you get what you want, is that this kid is going to leave you alone, and that you can enjoy whatever this movie is that you're playing, and be specific about what movie you go to, because that's going to make a difference in your acting. And worst case scenario, if you don't get what you want from Marissa, is that Marissa's going to tell her grandfather some really horrible things that you did in a movie theater and that you suggested it and that you could, you know, die or something. So always think about your objective, the best case and the worst case scenario, because that'll kind of like heighten the stakes and it'll make it more real for you. Okay. The next thing after that, so first thing, know what the scene's about, make the relationship specific, know what your objectives are. Okay, who are you? Who is Mrs. Turner? Okay, so Mike, if you look on the TFMA little timeline thing, I posted a script there. So I'm doing a Technique Tuesday and teaching people, or whoever wants to watch, how I teach my students to break down scripts, and I'm known for teaching kids and teens because I try to simplify it. So that's what's going on, Mike. Okay, so anyways, first thing, read the script. Second thing, make the relationships really specific to you. Third thing, know what your objective is, what the best case scenario is, and what the worst case scenario is of if you don't get what you want in the scene. And then here is where things get a little bit kooky, okay? So I ask my students to make what I call memories. And this is kind of like backstory stuff, but because I try to simplify it for kids, I say to make memories. So what we're doing is we are tricking our brain into believing that these things really happened. And the way that I kind of explain it to kids is that, you know, when you're dreaming and you are heavily invested in the dream, you see everything, you feel everything, you smell everything, you know what that feels like, and the dream feels so real to you, right? So when we make memories, I ask all of my students to bring in all of their senses into it and literally make a memory as if these things happen. And we will go through this script and we will circle the things that we need to make memories for. So one of the first things that we need to make memories for is, okay, and I'm just gonna do this for Marissa because I want to do it for Marissa, that's why. And because I can have executive, decision over this. So first thing that we need to make, first memory that we need to make is like, when was the first time that we met Mr. Turner? Like, what do we know about him? Was he sneaky, like talking to my grandfather? And when I came into the room, they were like, shh, there's a kid in the room. And then they like left. And then what else do I know? Like, I know that he does things for my grandfather, so what are the things that I kind of know that he does? And I would make that really specific. Like, I know that my grandfather paid him like $500 for this because I found a receipt, or, something like that. It doesn't have to be that. So, but I need to know how I met Mr. Turner. And also, how did I get his number? Because evidently, Mr. Turner knows to meet me here at this movie theater. And what movie theater is it? Is it a Disney movie? Is it like a rated R movie that we shouldn't be at? That's gonna make a difference in your decision. So I'm just going from the beginning of the script and I'm literally going down the line. So the coming attractions are worth the price of admission. I would need to make a memory about how I know that is the secret passcode. Did I eavesdrop on my grandfather's dealings? And what did I hear him say? So like all these are memories that I need to make as Marissa. It says, Marissa, I'm going on the second page. That's why I arranged to meet you. I want somebody hurt, send a message. So I need to know who this person is. And Tommy Gillis needs to be very specific to me. And, and again, here's the thing, is like, personalize it. Don't just make it like some imaginary bully. If you have somebody in your school or in your workplace or whatever that you think is a jerk, use that person as Tommy Gillis, because you all have an automatic reaction when you think about that person. And then you kind of take him and you tweak him and you say, like, if Marissa says, he picks on my best friend Sarah, so Sarah is somebody that I need to make specific. And he's always beating up on my brother. I need to know exactly what he did to them. You know what I mean? Like does he Does he trip my brother? Did I see him shove my brother's face into the into the grass and try to pull him off, and then he pushed me away? Like, I want you to get really specific with your memories. And also when Marissa says, you know, I'm going to tell my grandfather that you lured me here for some really disgusting reasons, I want that reason to be specific, what you're going to tell your grandfather. So, so all of these things, I would tell my student who would be reading for Marissa to make memories for. And then I would also say, you know, I'll pay you $5,000. She has a line, I'll pay you $5,000. How did I get that money? All of these things need memories attached to them. You need the memories in order to make the scene believable so that you can invest yourself in it. And then, like, okay, let's just try really quickly to go for Mr. Turner, like the memories that I need, I call them memories, to make for Mr. Turner. So, one, what I do for Marissa's grandfather, where I saw her, you know, was she like really weird and creepy the first time I saw her, and like the grandfather was like, oh, don't mind her, she's just a nosy person. And you kind of see like I'm making like a dialogue in my memories because I want it to feel as real as possible. Like any memories that you make for the scene, you want it to be visceral. It can't just be like live up in your head. There is a mind-body connection that we have. And when things really affect us, we feel them in our body. So, you know, like that one memory that I was kind of making about Marissa's brother, like, did I see Tommy Gillis like shove my brother's head into, you know, the sand? You know, for me, like if I did that scene, like I would probably make my brother my kid because I feel a certain way about him, and like seeing that would affect me. And like if I like tried to push him off and like feeling like him like grabbing me and like pushing me away, like that's as visceral. I would want to make those visceral memories, because when memories affect you, it does affect you in your system. So don't just make it a mental memory, make it a memory that you really feel it in your body when you think about it, you know? Okay, so let me see, where are we? Okay, so Mr. Turner, memories that we need to make. First time that we see Marissa, things that you did for Marissa's grandfather, how much he pays you, because that is huge on it. What movies theater that you're at, because it's going to make a difference if you're in a Disney movie or a rated R movie, or even, you know, more, you know what I'm trying to say, even worse than a rated R movie, because that would be bad if Marissa really said, you know, I'm going to tell my grandfather that I lured you here for some really disgusting reasons. So, yeah, so it makes a difference. And you want to choose memories, or you want to make up memories that will feed you in the scene, that makes sense. So you don't want to necessarily go overboard, because sometimes you don't need to and it's going to be too much for the scene. Make sure that the clues in the scene feed the memories that you're making, if that makes sense. Okay, so yeah, those are the memories that you would make for Marissa and Mr. Turner. And I would also make a memory about like what $5,000 is going to mean to you as Mr. Turner. You know, like maybe you are in dire straits, maybe you made too many bets on something that you actually need the $5,000 from a little kid, you know. So those are the memories that I would make for those scenes. And then that's just kind of like the basics of the very beginnings of what I teach my students. A lot of this does have to do, you know, like they get better the more scenes that they do, as with anything, like the more repetition that you have, the more experience you have, the 10,000 hours that you put in to whatever it is that you want to learn, that always helps. And you're not going to know what you're going to audition for, because you usually get those scripts like the day beforehand. So the more of these that you can do, the better that you get, and the faster that you get at making memories and knowing who in your world is going to affect you in an emotional way. So I have like like 5 people that affect me really deeply that I generally use in all of the scenes. But it's going to be very individual to each person, because even like with parents, like some people have good relationships with their moms and some don't. So sometimes, if it's a nurturing person that you talk to in the scene, like even if like you're in a scene with your mom and you don't have a relationship with your mom, is there somebody in your life that you do have those warm like feelings towards? You will start developing like a library of people that you kind of use in your scenes, and you will start learning to know who you are and yourself more and what affects you more as a person the more scenes that you do. So do a lot of scenes, and then we get into like more stuff that like, the arcs of the scenes. Like, you never leave a scene the same way that you entered it, because what's the point? Like, scenes are written to move the story forward, and if there is no emotional journey, if you aren't different at the end of the scene than you were at the beginning of the scene, what is the point, right? Then it's just fodder, and it's something that the writer can cut out. So we need to track the journey of the scene, and generally, there is like a climactic point around 3/4 of the scene, and it's part of it is teaching my students how to find that, because I'm not gonna be there and be able to coach every single person for every single audition. So it's really my job to try to teach my students how to find these things for themselves. And then we talk about like audition stuff, like, eye lines for things, and like, how to handle physicality. And then, after we do film and TV stuff, then we do like, trying to find the jokes in the comedy. And by the way, I think Corey is going to be doing is it Corey? Yeah. Corey is going to be doing like a comedy class here soon. And I took his class, and it was awesome. It was like $40, and he like kind of, he explained things. Like, I've only been in LA for like 3 years. I've been teaching and doing all my work from San Francisco. So it's a different market for me. And he, gave explanation to things that, I knew, but I didn't know like the words for it. So, if you can take his class, it's pretty cool. Mike Roman Santa, do the scene that I gave you. I don't know what scene that you gave me. Did you give me a scene? I don't know. Okay, so that is, how, like, just the very basics of how I teach my students to break down scripts. With commercials, it's a little bit different. Commercials, it just got a little bit easier for commercials. You still, make the person that you're talking to very specific. Don't make it general. Generally, you're talking to your friend, because commercials, we always want to share the information. We never want to sell it. Don't ever sell stuff, Like, we want to share this awesome piece of news that we have, right? And then in commercials, you just make the problem a problem, so the solution can be a solution. And generally, the solution is the thing that you are selling in the commercial, But you're just, honestly sharing really good information about in commercials. And then, things that we work on in scenes is, making it real, making it conversational, really listening and reacting. So, like, one of the things that I see with my kids a lot is that, okay, even if they, make the memories and they know what their objective is and they personalize the people in the scene to them, they will forget that the scene starts before the first line. So you have to like have an emotional jumping off point and know what's happening before the scene, before it happens, and staying in it until the end and having a thought, because sometimes those are the most amazing moments, even after the scene has ended and the character's like processing, what's going on. And then one thing that I see is that they also, and also because they're little kids, and they do what's called like a my line, your line thing. So instead of listening and reacting and honestly reacting to what is happening, they'll sit there and they'll like look that like they're thinking about it, but they're just really thinking about their next line instead of having like an honest conversation. Always think about things as conversations. And what we want, the point that we want to get to as actors is every single take should be a new take. It should be like we are living this moment for the first time when we say these words, even though we know what's going to happen in the scene. Like, that is, I feel, where like the beauty of acting is like having a new experience each time you do it. And if you make the memories and if you go after what you want in the scene, it should be a new ride each time, And then you get to have fun when like the director like gives you little tweaks, you know, or like little secrets that you have in the beginning of the scene that just tweaks your performance just slightly. I love that, or not so slightly sometimes. Okay, so we talked about that. We talked about, okay, yeah, things that actors do. Oh, you also don't want to get into like what I call vocal patterns, which is why in the beginning I said don't think about how you say the line. Think about what's behind the line and what you want from the other person. Because if you have it in your head that you're going to say this line this way each and every single time, then it takes the life out of the scene. And then we don't get, as the audience, we don't get the experience of like having, like peeking in to this like slice of life. Like then we know it's fake and we know it's not happening. So like the biggest thing about acting is you're not showing me an emotion. You're going through it at that very time, you know, like you are really living what is happening, you know, on the scene, in the scene, if that makes sense. It's never like the showing of the emotion, it's just like really living it. Okay, so hopefully this helped. And what choices do I make for this arc? This is where your interpretation. My directors have yelled at me, not nice. Sometimes we're gonna have directors that yell at you. I don't know what to tell you. As an actor, of course, don't put up with any abuse or anything like that, but you will come across very different personality types in this industry. And part of it is being able to handle those personality types and being able to take direction and, you know, and try as much as possible to recreate what the director wants in his or her vision. Okay, let me see. Any other tips that I can give you? Know what the tone is that you're auditioning for. That will help your choices. Let me see. Yeah, your scene begins beforehand, before your even first line, so know what that is, and like stay in it till the very end. Oh, there was a thing that Meryl Streep said that I'm kind of stealing from her. Know a secret about your character that only you know, because that also like helps you connect yourself to it. Can you do an improv scene right now? What does that mean? Like, you're gonna give me a word and I'm gonna do a scene off of a word? And improv is fun and it's great and it really helps you in, you know, your commercial auditions, and commercial agents will love you if you have improv. UCB is great. I gotta give the thumbs up for them. But I love doing improv in a group. Improv by myself is kind of boring and weird, and I like, you know, talking to people. Okay, so what daily practices do you use every day to get better at auditions? Okay, so I read a lot of scripts and I break down a lot of scripts, and I play with other actors and read off of them. That's kind of how I get better at it. You get better by doing it. Monologues are great because then you don't need anybody. Make it personal to you. Put yourself on tape. You know, like there's so many people that that recommend this, and like a lot of great actors and acting teachers like make it a practice, especially since self-tape is becoming more of a thing, if it's not the thing right now. Putting yourself on tape on a daily basis. Get your 10,000 hours in there. Okay. So that's daily practice. That's from David. Ivana, do you have any tips for improv during the commercial auditions? Make a choice. Make a choice and like go with it. I mean, so many commercials or auditions are different, and some of them they want you to be more, you know, slice of life subtle. Some of them they want you to be broader comedy. But make a choice and yes, and it. And okay. I was on set with Jussie Smollett. Not cool, but that's cool that you were on set with him because that's a professional set. Okay, Christopher Scott says, have a few questions about what to choose for when you're searching for good training and to learn more about agents. Well, Wendy has a lot of great information to learn more about agents. Good training. A lot of teachers in LA let you audit a class. I think it's really important that you vibe with the teacher. That's why, like, when I teach, I always say, you know, like, do like a trial session first, because you don't want to pay for like 10 sessions and you find that you don't like working with me because I'm weird and I have a lot of kooky energy. So find a teacher that you can really vibe with, and also take a look at, you know, their product of like what they're teaching. Are there people booking work? Do you see that actor in their class and you're like, oh, I love their acting? That's a teacher that you should search out. Is if you see like one of their students and you like their work, then then it's probably that you're gonna like what the teacher teaches. Hi, Michael. Michael's awesome because I worked with him on this movie called Cold Pressed, and he is doing bomb work and working all the time. Yeah, he like he's a hustler. He makes stuff on his own. You think that I'm not watching all the Facebook stuff? I watch all the Facebook. And also, congratulations on getting married. I think that's you. I don't know. Okay, I wrote a script up there. I can't see it. How do us kids set up meetings with agents if we go to LA for a short time period? Okay. A lot of the agents and managers in this group usually don't want to take kids unless you're in LA for an extended amount of time, because for one, like, the kids have to, like, it's with anybody, kids, adults, whatever. They have to start building relationships with casting directors, and you can't really do that in like a 1 month or 2 month period. I kind of did it in San Francisco, but the way that I did it was because, one, San Francisco is not that far from here. Like, when I booked ER, I literally just drove down and stayed at a motel when they booked me. Like, yeah, I just kicked my butt and drove down. So the San Francisco to LA wasn't that big of a thing, but I did start establishing relationships with agents a little bit because I used to do workshops. I know workshops are controversial, but when I was doing them, it was like, nobody knows who I am. How am I going to get on somebody's radar if they don't know who I am and they don't know the work I can do? A lot of this business is about risk reduction. So there's only there's a finite amount of slots that casting directors can see people in, and they don't want people to waste their time. So if they already see your work and they see like, oh, this person is a good actor, I'm not going to waste my time calling them in. That helps. So I did it through workshops. And some of my students have LA agents and they live in San Francisco, but it's because I do tell them that, if you are going to go to the LA market, be ready to get on a plane or do the drive. And the kids that do it, their parents are amazing. Like the Espina sisters and William Lipton's mom, the devotion of these parents are amazing because they will do the drive. They will do the 5 drive back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. They understand that that's what it takes in order to make strides in this industry. Okay. I like to practice cold reads. Is that helpful? Yes, very helpful. Get your 10,000 hours in. Okay. Okay, scene. Best case scenario. Okay. Mike, let me answer these questions before I do scenes. Guys, this is Drunk Castle on New Year's Eve. He starts running. Best case scenario, he gets free food. Worst case scenario, he goes to jail. You have great advice. Thank you. Thank you, David, for saying that. Cool. Angela, hello. And Fernanda. I love Fernanda. Fernanda's awesome, too, because she, not only is she a fabulous actress, like, amazingly fabulous actress, she is a hustler, and she has a series called Bloomers on YouTube that has, like, millions of views. And so she's just, like, a testament for actors to make your own work. And that's like a big thing too. It's like, it's not enough to be an actor anymore. It's not enough and also you just don't want to like put your power into other people's hands and like be constantly being like, hi, can you please give me a role? I mean, that energy is so, So yeah, actors, make your own stuff, and it honestly, it opens so many opportunities for you if you make your own things, because you don't have that desperate actor energy of please give me a role, because you are creating it for yourself. And also there's something, I know I'm like super woo-woo. I am super woo-woo, meaning that I like believe in manifestation and like putting things out into the universe. Like there's something about seeing yourself in a lead role or what you want to do that puts it out into the universe. Like for a long time, like, so I run around with a bunch of filmmakers, and a lot of my filmmaker friends, you know, stunt guys, filmmaker friends, and no offense to them or anything, because they're great and they're lovely and, you know, they're my friends, but they're dudes, and these dudes put themselves in everything as lead roles to everything, and they write everything for themselves. And I really wondered for a long time that, you know, like, how come they didn't put me in stuff? And but honestly, it was like, how come I didn't do that for myself? Why didn't I see myself in that? And once I kind of had that shift of like, you know what, I can write things for myself. I think it's like imposter syndrome or something, where you feel like you're not good enough somehow, or like you have to ask for permission to do the things that you want to do. Like, you know, once I started shifting my thought about myself and writing little stupid skits with me as a lead, things started shifting in my external world. So I had to like shift what was internal first for things to shift externally for me, if that makes sense. Yes, oh my gosh, imposter syndrome is so real, like honestly. So I just did this film called Derailed, and it is like so many awards right now, ridiculous amount of awards. I can't even like understand like these awards, right? And the director of this film just won 2 directing awards, and he even has like imposter syndrome, where he was like, I can't believe, like, out of all these films here, like, these films are so good, why would they choose me? So imposter syndrome is totally real, and I feel it, because I feel it. And I think, you know, for what helps me is like just seeing the things that or like telling myself, like, you know what, you are worthy, your voice matters, and like what you have to say to the world does matter and does affect people, you know. Okay, I've been having my own ideas since I was a kid, and I think I should totally write my own stories. Yes, please write your own stories, because we do need more diverse voices out there. We do. Doug, keep up the great work. Thanks, sir. Yes, yeah. Especially since I want to see more Latino narratives on film. Yes. Just all different kinds of perspectives, please. Can we get some more of that? We need this. Cool. I think I'm done, unless there are any more questions. Thanks guys for watching. If you want to do any type of one-on-one Skype, Facebook, FaceTime/Zoom coaching, HollywoodActorsWorkshop.com. You could check out my stuff there. And yeah, any questions that you have, just bug me. Hopefully I did this right. Hopefully I made Wendy proud. Hopefully you guys got good information out of this. And thank you guys, sending you guys good energy too. Have a good rest of your day, and I will say bye-bye.